Producer Joe here from the Working Fans Podcast. And at the Working Fans Podcast, this is just a podcast that three lifelong fans created to have a place to talk comedy and pro wrestling. Now, our comedy podcast releases every Tuesday, while our wrestling podcast releases every Thursday. We release bonus episodes under the moniker Working Fans Presents every now and then. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, any major podcast provider. The important thing is just please like, rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to us. Now, we have started a new thing. We are now on Amazon and Audible. So those episodes release every Monday. And that's kind of going through the archives and just releasing our old episodes into new areas. So if you want to live through the process with us again, take that journey with us again, you can find us over on Amazon and Audible. Now, if you can't get enough of us in the audio form, check out our YouTube. It's youtube.com/C/Working Fans Wrestling Pod, or just search Working Fans Podcast on YouTube. We have the whole archive is up there. And if you listen to the Working Fans Podcast, you are more than familiar with the 531. That is our signature segment where we take your top 5 lists on a particular subject, vote it down to a top 3, and then debate it down to a top 1. Now, guys, if you want to hear 3 guys talk shit about comedy, wrestling, life, anything, you will enjoy the Working Fans Podcast.
We're not the UFC. it's the man called David Chevy, and it's Combatcast. And we're doing a bunch of things in a row here today, folks. A little peek behind the curtain. And so we just recently recorded UFC 267 preview. We're going to do a UFC 268 preview today. And I got UFC on my mind, obviously. Chevy, hit us with that intro, baby. Tell us what we got coming up.
All right, so we got coming up November 13th. We're going to have UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Rodriguez. 2 of my favorite fighters, stylistically. Going to be a great fight, so we'll be previewing that. And then November 20th, we're doing the UFC Fight Night, Ketlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate. Excited to see Miesha Tate again. Hopefully that fight card fills out a little bit more. It's looking a little bare right now.
So I want to say this. I got a lot of stuff going on lately, and just between the podcast, work, personal, it's very tough sometimes to catch these fight night cards. Pay-per-views, I still make it a point to see all the time, and I keep up with everything. But man, I feel like Holloway Rodriguez is just like appointment viewing. Like if you're an MMA fan and you're anything more than a casual, even slightly more than a casual, like you need to see that fight.
Holloway has the record for the 3, I think it's the top 3 fights with the most significant strikes thrown in a fight. He has the top 3 fights. He's it's shocking he's not on a pay-per-view, but he's doing UFC shit, so we'll take it. Less money we got to pay.
Let's kick off with a little boxing here. This weekend, we got Canelo versus Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's 21-0. Looks like he's had some struggles in his life here. He had some personal things listed here. His mother and daughter have both passed away. That's got to be hard. So we know Canelo's one of the best damn fighters in the world. What can you tell me about this fight and this matchup here?
So Caleb, he has, I think it's 12 might be. I think it's 12 knockouts and 9 decisions. Yeah,
I looked this up. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. He has looked very good. He was an alternate on the Olympic team when he was growing up. I mean, you could say all the things you're going to say about him. He looks great. He's tall. He has good distance management, pretty good power, but he's fighting Canelo. Canelo's number one.
I'm going to pause you right there, Chevy, because we had a little internet issue here.
Uh-oh.
So he's got 12 knockouts.
12 knockouts,
Let's go from there.
Nine decisions, I think it is.
Yes.
So I believe he was an alternate on the Olympic team when he was younger.
Okay.
He has great boxing skills. He's pretty well rounded, has pretty good power. He's pretty tall, I think, too. So distance management is good. Problem is he's fighting Canelo Alvarez, number one pound per pound boxer in our era for sure. He's absolutely amazing. He's done it at multiple weight classes. I think he finishes Caleb, unfortunately, probably in the middle of the fight. 5 or 6.
We're going to talk about Bellator too, and I'm bringing that up because I want to make a comparison here. Cyborg is fighting this Caravan girl. She's like 7-4 or something, and I said to you off air that this is probably she's just going to get steamrolled, and this is probably a bucket list thing for her, right? She can say she was in there with Cyborg. I feel like even though Caleb has a better record and maybe he's fighting, this could end up being one of those bucket list things, right? You're fighting Canelo Alvarez. This is almost like the peak. Maybe he doesn't want to think about that, but I mean, that might be something you think back in life, like you got to fight for the championship of the world. Unfortunately, the guy who's the champion of the world right now is Canelo Alvarez. So,
right. Also, when you're at his level, there's only one way to go. You have to fight the best of the best, and unfortunately, it's a big jump in levels, I think. So
I'll tell you what, just looking at his record, I got a lot more hope for him than I do this girl that Cyborg's fighting.
Absolutely. He has way better chances.
Yeah, and one other fight we were going to talk about that Bellator card was Aaron Pico against Justin Gonzalez. Justin Gonzalez is 12-0. I believe Aaron Pico has won his last 4 straight. I think all finishes. Pico is a guy that people were telling was going to be like possibly the best thing in MMA, ever. Like people would
biggest prospect ever, for sure. Before he had any fights, he was being talked about.
Yes, and he had some tough losses. He's fought some really tough guys at an early age. He hasn't fought smart in every situation too. He's had some unfortunately vicious. He's been receiving some vicious knockouts.
Yeah,
he's given some vicious knockouts too. It's like, that's a fucking highlight.
Body shots too. His body shots just put people in the grave.
I looked at Gonzalez, his record. It's not like he's got a ton of knockouts on his thing.
He's well-rounded.
He's well-rounded. But I think with Pico, I think that's been the one glitch is those guys that can slug with him and can take him out. And since Justin doesn't look like he's bringing that to the table, I think as well-rounded as he is, I think Pico is well-rounded, and he's got the power, and I think Pico is going to get it done here.
I think so too. So the thing with Pico, he's touted as this great boxer, and he has amazing wrestling skills. We have not seen his wrestling skills at all. And so that is what people were really banking on, helping him get to an elite, world-class level. Hopefully, I don't think this fight's going to test him where he's going to need his wrestling skills, but I'd like to see him implement it all the same to get to some later rounds and then go for a finish with his boxing skills. Like I said, his body shots are incredible, so if he can tire out Gonzalez and then in the stand-up, catch him with one of those left hooks to the liver, he's going to put him away. I don't see him getting finished. I think that's it's going to be, a second or third round TKO finish due to a body shot again, probably. Just another thing about this event, as we're recording this show is going to come out the day after this Bellator airs, so don't hit us in the comments about anything to do with that. We know that what we're talking about this after it already happened.
Right. We just want to touch on it a little bit. The main thing we're going to talk about here is UFC 268. Interesting that we're getting UFC 2 right after 267, but they didn't put 267 on pay-per-view. So that's kind of cool, though. I like it because it's got a couple big events back to back.
That's right.
Now we want to highlight. You highlighted a prelim fight for me here. Ragin, Aloi, Quinta versus Bobby the King Green. Man, it's funny. Normally, in the last few years, if you put this fight up with me, I would say Ragin all day. He's been in there against Habib. He's fought some of the better competition. And I talked about this in the last episode where, like, Hazmat, had been out for a while because he's been sickened. But I'm going to say, okay, this guy's still. However, something in my bones is just telling me Ragin now hasn't fought since 2019, October. So it's going to be a little over 2 years when this fight takes place. And I'm wondering how bad he wants this. Bobby Green, on the other hand, has had some, either win or loss. He's looked pretty good in his last several fights. He's been super active. I got Bobby Green in this. I think he's going to do. I think Al's just so tough, he'll go to decision. But I think Bobby Green's going to take this.
I agree with you that I'm not sure how bad Quinta wants this.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's got his whole real estate business, and he's making a lot of money doing that, and good on him. And I know he went 5 rounds with Khabib, which is an amazing feat. He'll always be able to look back on fondly. Bobby Green has looked phenomenal in his last few fights. He's taller. He hits harder. He has good wrestling. I think it's a bad matchup for Al. I think Bobby Green takes him out TKO in the second round.
All right. Yeah, we'll see.
I love Al, so it hurts me to say that, but
yeah. I'm kind of on the same page as you. I think Bobby's going to get it done. I think Al does tough it out to a decision, but we'll see. And unless we see Al's been taking this time off to really focus, and if that's the case, then I got Ragin Al all day. But there's something about his interviews and stuff. I just don't know if Al really wants this, and just my opinion. Who knows? We'll see. Mm-hmm. Tito Vera, Marlon Chito Vera versus Frankie Edgar. Man, okay. I almost feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit here. Okay, it's not that Edgar though hasn't been active, but Edgar's had some tough losses at bantamweight recently, including to one of our favorites, Corey Sandhagen. And Edgar has a win, over a guy that, he beat, who's that guy that knocked out Cody Garbrandt in a fight? Edgar beat him by decision, but it was like
Pedro Munoz?
Yes, Pedro Munoz. Thank you. Super competitive fight.
He's a top level talent.
He is, but it was arguable that Edgar didn't win that fight, and Edgar got the win on that fight. I don't know. I'm kind of liking Marlon Vera here. I think this is a step up in competition. I think Edgar provides more problems than Sean O'Malley, but I just think Vera is just kind of on his way up. I think he's been looking good, and I think this is where he's going to shine. I think he's going to be faster, and I think that speed's going to pay off here. I like Vera by decision.
I think we love Frankie Edgar. He's a legend, absolute legend. The man's 40 years old at this point.
Right.
Eventually, Father Time will catch up with you in the cage.
And it's not heavyweight.
Right.
It's not like you got that
heavyweight.
power
Yeah,
still.
yeah, exactly. You can't rely on the power. So Marlon is in the prime of his career. He's been more active. He's taller. He's good with his distance management with the longer limbs. I think he kicks the crap out of Frankie's legs, and probably hurts him to the point where Frankie has to dive for takedowns and maybe gets caught with something. I don't think he gets finished because he's Frankie Edgar. I'm always surprised when he does get finished. So I think it'll be a decision where Frankie unfortunately kind of just gets beat up for most of the fight. And if he does get Cheeto down, Cheeto's get up from takedowns is decent. So I see him getting back up to his feet, fighting back up to his feet, and that wearing on Frankie.
I'm looking at this next fight here. I like this because it was kind of what I was thinking when I was looking at the notes in this fight. It's Shane Burgos versus Billy Corontio, and you have Shane won't lose 3 in a row. And his losses are to Barboza and Emmett, tough competitive losses.
If you remember that Barboza, I believe it was the Barboza one where he got hit, and then you see him stumble backwards, and he looks like he's okay, and then 3 or 4 seconds later, he just goes down.
Right.
So that is the only question I have about Shane Burgos is what was that? Is he seriously, diminished from some sort of brain injury? Hopefully not. We really hope not.
No. We'll see. That fight was May of this year. So we've had a little time in between there. Not a ton of time, but a little time in between there. I'm going to agree with you, though. I think Shane won't lose 3 in a row unless there's some, I think Shane will put it on him. And I say this will be a fun fight. I'll say Shane gets it done round 2, TKO. I'm just going to move right into this next fight. I forgot this fight was on this card. I was so happy when I looked at it. Justin Gaichy versus Michael Chandler. It is so hard to pick a fucking winner in this fight. Gaichy is so durable. One thing I think favoring Chandler here for me, and it's not that the cardio is a question, but because Gaichy's so tough, I like the fact it's a 3-round fight for Michael Chandler. I think Chandler, I don't know. Gaethje's good at getting up.
Him?
Yeah, he can outpoint him, and Gaethje's good at getting up, but I think Chandler's power and his wrestling, I think he'll be able to bring it on early. So I'm leaning with Chandler on this one in the decision. But if there's going to be a finish in this fight, not saying Chandler can't get it done, but I'm leaning towards Gaichy if there's going to be a finish in this fight. Because Gaichy doesn't really get finished too often, and usually later in a fight. If you look at his finishes, with the exception of like a tap out by Habib, I want to say the 2 times he was finished is like were round 4. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that was like with Poirier and Alvarez, and he's changed his style a little bit since then.
A little safer, a little bit.
Yeah.
Very little bit.
A little more technical, anyway, at least. Yes. Yeah, I'm so. But Chandler hits hard, man. I don't know. I like Chandler in this fight. It's very good, though. I just could go either way.
I honestly don't know if I can pick a winner in this fight. Yeah, this has Fight of the Year written all over it. I put in our notes.
Best matchup ever.
Maybe the best matchup of all time in the UFC. I can't think of a fight that I thought was more evenly matched.
I'm want to see this now. I'm very excited. Yeah.
I'm a little bit sad that it's 3 rounds because I think, like you said, both guys are very durable. It could go 5 rounds and it would be a war that maybe we've never seen before. So it's possible we see them fight again somewhere down the line for a belt or something. I don't know why. I'm just leaning towards Gaichy. That I have no, technical.
He's got more of that UFC fight experience.
Yeah, the caliber of opponents he's fought. Not that Michael Chandler hasn't. Yeah, not that Michael Chandler hasn't fought some great fighters. He's fought the best of the best in Bellator. So, I don't know, I'm just leaning towards Gaichy. I just, they've had a bit of banter, and people are saying that Gaethje's so crazy, and Chandler's like, you're gonna find out how crazy I am because we're just gonna walk forward and no wrestling and all that. I don't think that favors Chandler. In that chaos, that's where Justin Gaethje thrives the best, and if that's what really happens, which I think it is gonna happen, I see him getting a knockout, or both guys are so durable. Maybe just we see a war, and who knows, whatever judges are feeling that night. Fight of the year, though. Mark it down. This may be fight of the year.
I'm excited. And then we got Thug Rose versus Weili Zhang. Now, Thug Rose Namajunas, finisher, round 1 last time, head kick. UFC didn't do a UFC thing. They actually booked this fight right away. And interesting, because normally something like that happens. And it's not like Weili Zhang has got like this long Anderson Silva resume of title defenses.
Right.
However, it's interesting because this division, everybody is so good. Like, who was the girl that beat Rose there that dropped out her head?
Andrade,
right?
Jessica Andrade. But she's fighting at flyweight now.
She is. But Weili Zhang won the title from Andrade and knocked her out in the first round. But
early too, yeah.
Yeah,
early in the first round.
Yeah, and then Rose beat Andrade in the second fight, but it was super more competitive. It was actually more competitive. Like, Rose looked like she was dominating the first one before she got dropped in the head. And I guess my point is, like, it's almost like the football analogy, any given Sunday in this women's strawweight division. Like, anything can happen, and it really depends who's on their game. That being said, I've said this before. I think Rose, when she's on her game, is the best in the world. I think Zhang's going to come in here well prepared this time. I think she's going to make a better fight. She wins it, competitive fight, but she puts it on her.
I think Rose is going to do what Rose does, come in as calm as possible, and just do her own thing, look very technical in the fight, and probably get another TKO finish. And I only say that because Zhang obviously has the power advantage, and she's super fast. Rose's footwork keeps her safe, I think. But Zhang did not handle her loss very well. I believe it was her first loss in a very long time, if not her first loss. And she blamed it on the crowd or some bullshit like that. So that shows me that she's not taking responsibility, which means she probably isn't making the correct changes in her camp to adjust. So I see the same thing happening to her again. I like both girls, and they could fight every weekend for all I care. I'd watch it every weekend. But I just think Rose, in her current headspace, is the better fighter.
She is 21-2. She lost her very first fight, and then her last fight with Rose. So
it's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah. By that adage, though, she went on to win 21 straight afterwards. So
right.
Who knows? Sometimes that not liking to lose can, affects people differently.
It's true.
Yeah, she has that TKO Andrade. I also forgot she has decision over Tisha Torres, split decision over against Jacek was just like the fight of the century. That fight was amazing.
That fight was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Oh man, look that up if you've never seen that fight, folks. Another fight that's a rematch. Main event, Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. A lot of people like to talk about Covington being a joke. Covington he's the guy in this division that's not Usman, as far as I'm concerned. He's got heavy volume. He brings it despite the shenanigans and the character, and he doesn't really do it that well, I don't think. But, it's like he can fight. And that last fight, everybody talks about Usman, broke his draw with a TKO, but that was a super close fight, and they were both bringing it. And it was the one time because they were both mainly known as wrestlers going into that fight, and they just canceled that out, and they just brought the volume of strikes, and they both rocked each other at different times. That being said, Covington has gone on to win a couple fights since then, and it's looked like Colby Covington, which means he looks impressive. Kamaru Usman, on the other hand, has gone on to look like a completely different fighter and looks even scarier. This is a guy that now looks like he's really comfortable with his striking. He's had Trevor Whitman get involved with him, who trains the aforementioned Rose Namajunas and Justin Gaichy. And Usman's never looked better. And if that version of Usman was able to TKO Colby in a war before, I don't see why he can't do it now when he's just that much better. I still think Colby's going to bring it. I think this is going to be, I won't say fight of the night because we got Gaichy and Chandler on here, but a little bit reminiscent of maybe the Barrow boxing here, Hagler Hearns in a 3-round war. It's going to be back and forth and almost stops. I think we're going to have that for the first 3 rounds, but then I think Usman's just going to put it on him. I think Usman gets it done. TKO round 3.
So I agree. Obviously, the first fight was amazing, and both fighters have gotten better, but Usman has grown exponentially. So Colby is a pressure fighter, similar to the Diaz brothers with the volume, except he pushes you forward against the octagon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Usman. With Usman's wrestling and Colby's wrestling maybe cancel each other out. So, like we said in the first fight, they cancel each other out and we get a striking match. But working with Trevor Whitman, Usman's jab has gotten phenomenal, and I think that jab might be enough to, and it's a stiff jab too, so it might be enough to keep Colby at bay where he can't pressure Usman, and he doesn't have the power to knock Usman out, but Usman obviously has the power to knock Colby out, so I think maybe we see a similar fight to the last one, except Usman slightly more dominant, gets it done earlier. 3rd round. TKO.
So we're agreeing. TKO round 3. I think we're in agreement. Should be a great night of fights though. So many potentially good back and forth fights or finishes on this card. 268, man. This could be the fight card of the year.
Could be.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right. Hit him what we got coming up.
We got one more thing.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
Mike Tyson and Logan Paul.
Oh, shit, Chevy. I blocked that out of my mind.
I know. Sorry. We got to talk about it.
Okay. Logan Paul. Logan Paul, to me, is
0-3 boxer Logan Paul.
Yeah, he's the worst of the Paul brothers. I don't like
worse.
Jake Paul's chances in this. So I definitely don't like Logan's Paul's chances in this. I don't know if this is real. Could be. Tyson puts it on him if this is the case. Just based off what we saw with Tyson in his last exhibition with Roy Jones Jr., Roy Jones Jr. was able to not get himself knocked out.
They weren't punching each other in the face in that fight.
Right. But anyway, Logan Paul is no Roy Jones Jr. That's my point. Even at this stage in his career. I say Logan Paul, unless this is absolutely not on the up and up, like Logan Paul getting knocked out. Round 1. Now, this ain't gonna happen. Like, this is not like I'll be shocked. I would be shocked by any other result. Jake seems to be the better of the two fighters. And I don't like Jake's chances either. I say Jake gets knocked out in round 1 or 2. And it's not like it's the Tyson of old. It's just he's bigger than these guys. And he still has enough power that I don't think these guys are skilled enough that they can handle that. These guys are clever usually in the opponents they pick. They pick people that don't really have a ton of striking ability, that's a little smaller than them, and all they can do is strike, but they have somewhat name value. Here they went with a little more name value, but this guy, it's like they forgot about how big he still is, and he can still
dire physical consequences in this fight. If this is a real fight, it's not even like the fact that, you know, Tyson is, you know, in his 50s and he can still punch. When he steps into that octagon, he's going to have an aura about him, you know. He's terrifying, like, as a human being.
Yeah.
To stand across the ring from that man.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Logan Paul's going to piss his pants, as he should, he should. Props to him. I mean, I know he's going to make, you know, some $100 million or whatever in this fight.
I'll be surprised. I think the real bet will be, does this fight happen?
It's booked for February, so I'm betting it happens. You know, I just don't see, you know, if they are going to do some exhibition thing where, you know, Tyson can't punch him in the head, maybe it goes to the distance. I still have Tyson by a knockout to the body or something.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not. I hope this is a real fight and we, you know, can see that there's levels to this game.
Sure.
Real levels. When you fight someone your size who is a, you know, world championship caliber, doesn't matter if they're, you know, 20 years, 30 years past their prime. Power's the last thing to go, and Mike Tyson has all the power. If he wants to,
what weight
punch
class
Lopez. It doesn't even matter.
Oh,
they're going to be on all the juice, you know. Hopefully for Logan, Tyson's on all sorts of shrooms, so he's feeling real nice and he doesn't want to hurt him real bad. Because if you know, they're like, no, you can't have shrooms today, he's going to kill Logan Paul in the octagon or the ring. So,
oh my God,
I'm here for it though. I won't watch it live or pay money for it, but I'm sure somebody will, and I'll be able to check it out one way or another.
Shout out to Chevy's boys, whoever he's got there.
Shout out to Greg. That's my buddy, my hookup.
All right, man. All right. Well, yeah. I hope. I don't know. I still want to. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't mind seeing Logan Paul get knocked out, not killed, but if he gets knocked out or something,
right? I don't want to see him die, but
I got no problem with that. Yeah.
I mean, I would step in there for $100 million and take him Mike Tyson.
Why not?
Mike Tyson
hope for the best.
Hell yeah!
I hope I make it.
All right. Anyway, for the rest of this month, we got November 13th, UFC Fight Night, Holloway versus Rodriguez. Again, super excited. Two of my favorite fighters. And the fact that, you know, we mentioned this, the fact that we're getting a Holloway fight on a fight night for free, you know, fans rejoice. November 20th, we're doing UFC Fight Night, Ketlin Vieira versus Miesha Tate. So, we'll be reviewing that. Hopefully the card fills out a little bit more and we can get a good fight card out of it.
Yep,
anyway, check me out on Twitch, Cheveruni on Twitch, all one word. So we'll see you
and we'll be
guys
talking top 5 boxing heavyweight fights on one of these episodes too, when I feel like plugging it in there. And also about that Holloway Rodriguez, I want to add one more thing too. Just thing about this. Maybe if you think about that, he was on that last fight night. It was on ABC, and they put him on, you know, like a network TV. Maybe we get that again, because Holloway is always that guy. I feel like they do like to.
He's a showcase because he's a good person, he's charismatic, and he puts on a real good fight. So that's a good point. You know, maybe he's showcase to the casual or to bring in new fans. So
absolutely, I hope so. All right, guys, that's the Combatcast. We're out.